So I want to shift a little bit and talk about your personal experiences in organizing and activism. Do you think that organizing and activism culture is healthy or is it toxic, and particularly toxic for young people? And if it is toxic in some way, how do we change that?
Yeah, to the point about infighting and internal issues, which I think is really what is more of interest. Like, we know people on the right, how they're going to behave is just abhorrent. But I think when we look at our own behavior and the way that we are interacting with one another, I think there's this really weird, particularly in youth activism culture, this really weird tension between, on one side, saying you shouldn't take money for the work that you do, and if you do, you're selling out. And then on the other side being like, why are there only rich kids doing this work? They're not affected. And the answer really is that we need to pay young people for their labor. We need to pay women of color for their labor, right? We need to budget, if we were going to ask people to do work, to pay them for their work. And so I think that tension, for me, I look at through the lens of the work I started doing on the ground, right? When I was doing grassroots work in high school, when I was 17, we started a program that hired young people who were the most affected, right? They were homeless youth, youth in foster care, youth in group homes, formerly incarcerated youth, to become pure sex educators in our clinics. And we didn't just ask them to show up and do it for free because it was good work. We paid them to do it, right? And then they gave us great insight. They said, the reason people aren't coming to this clinic is because it's really far. And so we said, well, where can we get the money to get folks Ubers from school to our clinic? And then we said, well, what else are they looking for? They're looking for STI testing. They're looking for PrEP and PEP, right? How can we find that access? And that group has been able to serve almost 17,000 young people at no cost to them in my hometown, which is not a very big town. And it's the kind of thing that changes a place for generations, not just because of the access they created to services, but because of the leadership positions they created for young people who were the most affected, me included. And so I think that really is the model I would love to see other people taking on, is empowering the people who are most affected, but not burdening them with labor, but really empowering them with resources and decision-making power.